Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're going to neutrally decode the fascinating administrative training for what is essentially an entirely parallel legal universe that we found in our source documents. We're looking at a highly structured system that's operating right alongside the mainstream legal system we all know, complete with its very own courts, rules of evidence, and, yep, its own administrative staff. So we're exploring the Jural Assembly movement. Now, this is a system operating under some really unique alternative legal theories, and it's actually visually signaled by the United States civil flag of peacetime, characterized by its vertical red and white stripes. The documents we're analyzing today basically serve as a hands-on, practical training manual for the folks who are setting up and actually running these alternative assemblies. To really understand the highly specific duties of a court clerk in this system, we first need to map out the ideological foundation of this alternative legal world. Our agenda covers 1. The parallel legal universe, 2. The power of capitalization, 3. The federal mirror concept, 4. Inside the living court, 5. Assembly record keepers, and 6. The land jurisdiction clerk. Let's get right into it. First up, Section 1, the parallel legal universe, understanding the two jurisdictions. We need to step through the looking glass here into a worldview where jurisdiction is absolutely everything. In these texts, standard American courts are viewed as operating offshore under the law of the sea, or maritime law. In stark contrast, this movement claims to operate under the law of the land and soil. And let me tell you, that single distinction dictates literally every single administrative procedure they follow. Moving on to Section 2, the power of capitalization. What's in a name? According to our source texts, the typography, literally, the capitalization of your name on a legal document dictates which of those two jurisdictions you fall under. It's a massive, foundational concept for their court staff.
It's honestly fascinating how they instruct their members to identify jurisdiction. Think about your standard driver's license, right? Or maybe a court summons. Well, the movement believes that those all-caps names represent a corporate trust or an estate. They actually advise using an orange marker to highlight those because they fall under maritime law or the Uniform Commercial Code. Conversely, upper and lowercase names, which they highlight in yellow, represent a living, breathing man or woman on the land. They claim that standard courts administratively treat your all-caps name as a trust, and you, the living person, as merely a surety for it. Wild, right?
All right, Section 3, the federal mirror concept, a flipped perspective. This brings us to a foundational ideology in these texts known as the federal mirror. It's essentially a flipped perspective on governance, where our public is their private and vice versa. This concept just brilliantly illustrates the movement's core belief. The texts state that federal employees act in an alien capacity. Think about that for a second. From the movement's viewpoint, federal and state statutes only apply to non-resident aliens, meaning to the federal government, we are the aliens in their watery territorial domain. Therefore, standard courts are seen as offshore franchises managing corporate entities rather than dealing with actual, factual people living on the land. Which naturally begs the question, if standard courts are considered completely foreign entities by this movement, how on earth do they structure and staff their own alternative system to handle disputes between living people? That brings us to Section 4, Inside the Living Court, a step-by-step look. Because they entirely reject standard courts, they've actually engineered their own highly specific practical workflow for proceeding. The court process moves strictly through defined roles. First, you have a marshal who secures the room, and yes, this includes modern considerations like locking the Zoom call. Then, the justice, who operates under a title like state justice, verifies all the participants and confirms that initial arbitration was attempted. After that, the claimant presents facts and evidence of a trespass. Then, they literally pause the recording and the jury deliberates privately with a bondsman acting as their sole point of contact. Finally, the bondsman seals the case documents and hands them over for processing. Okay, Section 5, Assembly Record Keepers, Safeguarding the History. Crucial to validating this whole alternative legal system is maintaining a public record, and this is the heavy responsibility of the Assembly Record Keeper. It's a distinct role that works hand in hand with the court clerk. The texts really emphasize that creating a public record rebuts private corporate registrations. Now, they believe there's no special magic to exactly how a record is made. It could be through their own land recording office or even published in a local newspaper. But the key is it absolutely must be preserved. Think of this role as their equivalent to a county recording office. It makes the record keeper an incredibly trusted elected official who literally secures the political status of assembly members. No small task. And the physical, administrative burden here, it's massive. Because they deal with alternative paperwork, things like baby deeds designed to counter state birth certificates, meeting minutes, deeds of reconveyance. Best practices totally dictate that record keepers must be extremely organized. I mean, the manual explicitly advises investing in heavy, fireproof cabinets, maintaining strict secure backups, and eventually utilizing highly secure vaults to physically safeguard this parallel history. They take this very seriously.
Finally, Section 6, the Land Jurisdiction Clerk, the administrative core. This perfectly sets the stage for the core focus of our explainer, the court clerk. This is an elected state citizen who serves as the administrative gatekeeper of these land and soil jurisdiction courts.
Now, unlike your standard paralegals, this clerk actively turns people away. If someone comes to the living court seeking redress but is still functioning as a foreign person, maybe they're trying to resolve a dispute between two corporate entities, the clerk rejects the case flat out. They ensure the court only ever serves verified members of a state journal assembly and only handles controversies involving tangible land, soil, or actual living people.
The source makes a really distinct and fascinating separation in terminology here. Their land courts meticulously keep records of actual people and soil. Meanwhile, they claim opposing C courts merely keep files of intangible corporate disputes. So a clerk in this system doesn't manage files, right? They safeguard the public record. Let's look at the clerk's comprehensive duties. They are vast. They ensure proper paperwork is available for court participants. They handle the entire workflow of case filing, taking over documents handed off by the bondsman after a jury decision. They prepare orders for the justice to sign, make copies, and manage sending registered mail with return receipts. Those are the absolutely crucial notices sent to the claimant and the accused. Furthermore, they oversee case scheduling, manage venue coordination, and ensure all administrative procedures strictly align with American common law and due process. To handle all these vital court support functions, a successful clerk in this system has to possess meticulous attention to detail. They must be well studied in due process, and interestingly enough, they have to possess the arithmetic skills to handle and confirm daily bonding receipts with the bondsman at the close of the court's business each day. The best practices noted in the documents actually suggest that standard paralegals can readily fulfill these duties, provided they are brought up to speed on the jurisdiction differences. By meticulously organizing case numbering, handling scheduling, and managing notices, the clerk essentially keeps the entire system running smoothly, day to day. They're making sure documentation is securely handed off to the record keepers. We've seen exactly how this movement builds its administrative infrastructure from the ground up, relying on a really rigid interpretation of jurisdiction, capitalization, and common law. But it leaves us with a fascinating final question to ponder. How does this alternative reality actually function when put to the ultimate test, and it inevitably collides with the mainstream justice and commerce systems? Well, in navigating that clash, one thing is for sure: the court clerk provides the administrative backbone of court operations.